Hello and welcome. It is I, Iron Raiden, back yet again with another new topic of discussion. It's been a few weeks since I did a regular video like this. I started doing my gaming ring content, if you will, a little bit more of the gaming side of this channel because I like to break things up. I like to do a little bit of variety because, I like entertainment. I like film, of course. I like video games. I like to do little shorts, little skits, little silly, funny things every now and again. Like I said, I just like to break it up. So don't expect too much of the same thing necessarily. I like to try to, like I said, just try things a little bit differently, just to kind of keep things interesting, if you will. And so this week I figured I'd go ahead and do a video given its return. Season 6 of Better Call Saul. Now, it's been a minute since we've actually gotten a new episode of this series. Season 5 ended, 4/20/2020? So 2 years, because obviously pandemic stuff and whatnot slowed down production of that show, as well as many other things, of course. But also because, the show doesn't come out they don't start the new season every 3 to 4 months. You do have a little bit of some downtime before they actually start doing the next season of this show. And Breaking Bad, it's not completely rushed like most shows are. So yeah, it's been 2 years since we've last left off with Jimmy McGill, aka Saul Goodman. And so I just watched the season 6 premiere. It's basically 2 episodes that they put as one for the premiere. And jumping back into the show, it's very interesting because after 2 years, it's even not 2 years, even if it's just a few months break, sometimes you tend to forget little details of the previous season or ongoing storylines and stuff like that. So obviously, at first, it's a little bit weird, but you surprisingly get back into the groove of it pretty quickly. You're just like, okay, this was happening here, this was happening there, blah, 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 and everything. So it was very interesting. It's like, it's been so long, but it's almost like, no time has gone by whatsoever. So it's a bit weird that way. But anyway, enough with that. The show itself, just as a basic idea of where I feel about this show and Breaking Bad in general, it's like, Breaking Bad, I did not watch it as it was airing initially. I actually got into the show and binged it before the final season. It was actually, I was binging it and I finished binging it just as I think it was getting to the second half of the last season. Because I remember they aired the first part of the season. I think they had a little bit of a break and then they kind of aired it. So some people kind of consider it 2 seasons, but it's really technically 1 season is how they put it. But yeah, so I finished it just before it was coming to a close and everything like that, which you go back and look with that show. I feel like that's the best way to watch the show instead of waiting week after week after week. It was a good way. So over several weeks I watched that show and it was a damn good show. Some people say it's the greatest show of all time, which I wouldn't argue with you if you would feel that way. It's definitely up there. It's just a very nuanced show. It takes its time with its storytelling. There's a lot of very subtle things, camera work and just character moments, character beats, so many different things. The show just defies nuance, if you ask me, as far as telling a story on television, which of course is something very lacking these days because so many people have other ideas that they want to put into a show and completely bog it down and not give it any gravitas, if you will. None of that stuff. This is probably one of the last great shows to really do something, to really give you something to chew on episode after episode after episode. It's just, there's so much to talk about with that. And with this show, Better Call Saul, a spinoff, which, they're very few and far between as far as how spinoffs go for any television show, if they work or not. Particularly, I know sitcoms. I know some people could be 50-50 on that. You get one character, they do their own spinoff, and then it gets canceled after like a season or two because no one gave a crap, you know. But with this, obviously, it's very different. It's the prequel story. It's the beginnings of Jimmy McGill, also Saul Goodman, and leading into the Breaking Bad series. Now, of course, you know, you watch this, you know where things go for him in that whole period of time. But of course, this show adds so much more depth to that character, and you realize, and so it is still a fresh experience, very much so. There's still a lot of journey to be had, as well as characters like Mike and other new characters within this part of the story. And so it's very, very intriguing what they've managed to do with this show. And some could argue it's even better than Breaking Bad. And once again, I wouldn't argue with those people at all. In some ways, I feel like, yeah, it might just be. They're two, I mean, they're one and the same for the most part, but they definitely have a little bit more of their own flavor with each other. Especially earlier on with Saul, it's more, a little bit more lighthearted. It's focused a little bit more on just, you know, of course, a more humorous character like this, so you get a little bit more comic relief, if you will, to a certain degree, you know. But yeah, the show has continued to be very, very well done, and just a really great expansion of what Breaking Bad was. And because you look at Breaking Bad, you obviously you didn't get a whole lot of layers with the Saul Goodman character. He was just more of like that quirky lawyer character, and is like, yeah, he'd have his moments here and there, but he wasn't really like, of course, fleshed out as much as a lot of the other characters within that show, because of course he wasn't that focused on. But here, obviously, there's so much to learn with this character and the journey that he's had leading up to that series, and it's quite fascinating with what they've done and how they've tied in other characters like Mike and the Gus's of the world, and how just methodical a lot of these characters are, the villains. And it's just, it's a weird feeling with this show, because again, it's very nuanced, it's very intense, but it's strangely relaxing just because of how it's done and how it's shot. You're just sitting there, you're just completely relaxed. You're just taking in these characters, their moments, their situations, and it's just like you really are just right there living this life with them, despite all of some of the more just incredible plots, if you will, like with, you know, the cartel, and you know, a lot of that stuff, you know, a lot of stuff that, yeah, most of us don't go through, you know. But it's just one of those things to where it has a slow draw in with you, like you just naturally just sucked into it all, and you really do feel like you're a part of this whole thing, because it's very real world feeling. Like, it's not over the top and all that stuff. Like I said, despite a lot of the intense situations these characters can find themselves in, you feel like it's like, man, it's like, I really do feel like that, you know, like I know someone who's going through something like this, or you know, just something weird like that. You know, it's quite fascinating. And so far with this first episode back, it just continues to show what is greatly missing in entertainment in general, not just with television, movies, and stuff. I mean, like I say, we can still get things here and there, of course, but this is probably going to be one of the last like great things, at least for a little while, before people just start to realize it's like, this is not how entertainment and television need to be. It shows like this that don't have any sort of agendas. You have various characters going through various situations, and not everything is so black and white. Every single one of these characters have a light and a dark side to them. There's something going on there with them each and every time, to where even if you may not necessarily agree, even if you probably wouldn't do that yourself if you were in that situation, but there's reasonings behind everything that people do. And you may find something earlier on in the season, or even just the series as a whole, like going back to the beginning, that you find yourself coming back to later on down the line. And it really is just a fascinating tale of these people and their lives, and just, like, again, how you can just easily relate to all of it despite not actually going through these particular situations. And it's just fascinating. It builds on very human characters, and that's what makes it so great. It's nothing ever like truly in your face. It's the cinematography, it's the storytelling, all of that. And that is what makes this show and Breaking Bad two of the best that have ever been out there. And the show continues to prove, like, I mean, if you look right on the same network, you look at shows like The Walking Dead. The Walking Dead fell off a long time ago for many people. I watched it for like the first half of the series. I enjoyed. There's definitely various things about the show that I enjoyed, but as it went on, I felt like I was almost watching it out of some strange sense of obligation, and some other reasons I won't go into for me personally, as to why I view the show. But maybe that could be a story for another day. But yeah, it plays itself similar to a show like this, but not quite. If you really break it down, there's not a whole. It's not as nuanced as what you might think it is. They might try to make themselves. They might try to play themselves to a level like a Breaking Bad or a Better Call Saul, but it's really not. It's really more shallow than what you might think it is, and that's pretty much been AMC's bread and butter over the last like decade. Is Breaking Bad and The Walking Dead. Those have been the two shows that really. I mean, they've had some other successful shows here, but not that. It's been really these two shows this entire time, and their spin-offs. I mean, Walking Dead has already had like what, two other spin-offs? It's like Fear the Walking Dead, and it's very shortened series, like 2 or 3 seasons. Beyond the Walking Dead, which I watched like one or two episodes. I'm like, I can't do this. I can't do it at all. But with this show, it's a true stand down, a true testament to what you can do when you actually just bother to tell a story, because there's so much there. You could go back and watch either of these series several times over and pick up on new things each and every time. Like nothing is, like no moment in these shows is truly wasted. It's one of those things where you look into it and you realize that everything happens for a reason, and nothing is wasted. And that's the sign of great storytelling. Something, again, that's greatly lacking and that we don't want to bother with anymore. We just do not. So when this series is over, it's going to be kind of sad to see, because it's like, well, it was a hell of a run, and obviously you don't need to take it any further than where it needs to go. But at the same time, it's just like, damn, that was just so good. It's like you want more, but you realize that, yeah, this is the end. It's like, and it should be left there. It's just a bittersweet feeling, if you will. And so, yeah, I mean, a lot of these characters, like I said, they're the Salamanca character, just a great character. I mean, that guy is so damn good in this show as the more villainous type. But that actor, the way this character is written, all that, he has such great nuance to him. He gives you this sense of likability, like he has a lot of charisma, and he really pushes you into this false sense of security at times, especially when you watch him with certain characters in this show. And you realize that he more than likely has an underlying reason as to why he's being nice to you. Because he's probably going to use you as a pawn to further his own doings and whatnot. But even characters that he's probably loyal to or whatever, it just, he really does. He's a character that just is so nuanced and so well done to where I have to give him all the credit in the world. He is that much more of like a great villainous character that just has these certain layers and just has that nuance that is so greatly missing with a lot of things, because everything wants to be so in your face. And of course, there's nothing wrong with a little over the topness here and there, depending on what you're watching, of course. But this show, again, just defies the subtleties of characters and storytellings and not making everything so black and white. That, like I said, you can even have moments where characters are, no matter how bad of a character they may have certain moments where they react or act on something in a certain way where you just may be like, yeah, I completely understand that. Like, I see where they're coming from. I would say that the most relatable character for the most part in a lot of ways is Mike himself. He's someone who's caught up in this very illegal activities and whatnot, but he has a code for sure. He has a granddaughter that he would give his own life for. He wouldn't do anything to put the right people on the path to wrongdoing. He's very much a loyal character that way. So he very much is one of the better characters in television for the most part, because he's just so likable. And like I said, even though he's caught up in a lot of stuff, that doesn't necessarily make him a bad person. He's very much a good character, a good, decent person, who's just really looking after his own family and will stick his neck out for the right people if he feels like that something may be going too far, and he's like, nope, you are not gonna mess with this person, you're not gonna drag this person into this. It's like, no, that's not gonna happen. And it doesn't matter who it is. It could be Gus. It doesn't matter. It could be the devil himself. Mike is not gonna stand down if he believes it's something. He's like, no, you're not doing this. I don't give a rat's ass. Like, you are not. It's like, you'll shoot me in the face first, like, if you can. Like, he'll stand right up to with a gun in his face. He is just stone cold, and he's just so badass in his own way. It is just absolutely fantastic every time he is on screen. And again, it's just a testament to just how well done the writing and just how these characters and the situations you find them in, it's just always very, very intriguing. And I look forward to see how things go with this, because obviously we know where Saul will be in the future, but obviously throughout the seasons we've seen these black and white scenes of where Saul Goodman, where we find him post Breaking Bad, and so they've been throwing those in here and there and guiding us into kind of, I guess, seeing where we're gonna go with him after the fact, as well as leading into that series itself. So I'm very curious to see where they take all of this, but as it stands right now, for the season premiere, it was damn good. It's still very much the show that we love and enjoy, and it's just damn good entertainment. It really is. So yeah, enough babbling about Better Call Saul and Breaking Bad and all that stuff. Again, just I feel like it was something that was worth talking about, and it's just good stuff. And also, to end this, if you happen to have watched this and watched it all the way through, in the description I will put down a link for Storyman Jack, a GoFundMe, because he recently had some damage done to his home, and for the next few weeks he's going to be homeless and all that stuff. So shout out to him and well wishes for him and his family. So like I said, if you're watching this, more than likely you probably know, but of course, if new eyes or anyone who doesn't, link down in the description for a GoFundMe to help him out. So shout out to you, my friend. Anyway, I'll go ahead and wrap this video up. Thank you very much for watching. More stuff to come, gaming ring, all that stuff, and other random videos and discussions, shorts, who knows. I'm just out here just doing my thing, taking it day by day, week by week, all that stuff. So that'll do it. I am Iron Raven, and I am out.